Tried and True is a team developed long before the founder and owner, Watty Watt Watkins, was around. This spiritual term, motto, or credo is relevant to one's journey and can be applied to many aspects of life. Watty Watt learned these words that have always been near to his heart and soul early in life when speaking with a close high school friend about their journey. As a young adult, Aaron Corrado, who is now a minister, mentioned that they would be tested by fire, obstacles, and they would need to prove true, overcome through staying faithful and steadfast in their beliefs. This weighed heavily on Watty's heart, and through the next decade, many trials and obstacles came his way. From his athletic career as a wrestler in college and beyond, to his MMA career and his career-ending injury, to his bodybuilding career and coaching, Watty was tested many times. When he failed, he would get back up, reevaluate, and make his next move forward, striving to succeed. He has always fell back onto his faith. As he developed into a coach and rose to prominence in his field, he was urged by many to create a team. Watty, for many years, resisted this because he enjoyed marching to his own beat. Circumstances finally aligned, allowing him the opportunity for him to create a team or organization that represented the phrase which guided him through so many journeys. With the help of numerous individuals, Watty created Tried and True. Tried and True is one's personal journey through life that they set out on intentionally or unintentionally, causing them to arrive at an endpoint by overcoming trials, obstacles either internally or externally, and to have proven to themselves or others to be true, overcoming the trials or obstacles. The road could be the journey to be a world champ or just doing one more rep. The onlookers may be millions or as few as just you, but nevertheless, it is your journey to accomplish the task you set forth. Joining this team may be for a plethora of reasons. For many, it will be part of your journey, while for others, it might just be you against you. No matter the reason, we are here to help you figure out a way through your training and nutrition and to support you in your journey to be tried and true. And with that being read, I want to welcome you back to the 127 Fit podcast. Today's guest is the founder and owner of Tried and True. He is also the coach to more than 70 IFBB Pro Athletes and 16 Olympians. He also works with NFL athletes, Olympians, pro MMA fighters, among many others. Today's guest is Watty Watt Watkins. Watty, I want to welcome you to the 127 Fit podcast.
Thanks for having me, Quentin.
Absolutely. So, Watty, we're going to just get right into things. The first question that I have for you today is kind of part of the warm-up is, do you have a specific routine or a specific way that you like to start your day on most days?
I mean, every day kind of starts the same, and everybody that knows me knows that I don't sleep, so I go to bed about 5:30 in the morning, wake back up about 8:30, and I'm ending my day that early in the morning because I'm with clients all over the world. They obviously are 12 hours difference from us, so I'm just finishing writing diets, talking, FaceTiming, WhatsApp. Then I go to bed for 2-3 hours. I get up, and I usually do cardio with my wife, and then I go and eat breakfast and then run to the gym, and I train for about 10 to 12 hours. And then I come back home, and I do the same thing over and over.
So you're on the grind almost 24/7, huh?
All the time.
All right, so the second question that I have for you today, do you have a favorite book or book that you like to gift often?
It's the Book of Flow. There's one, it's by Mihaly, a Russian author. It's his long last name. And It's flow of sports and there's flow of life. And it was actually gifted to me by an individual who was important to me. He's now passed about 2 years ago. He was Navy SEAL 23 years, phase 1 instructor at Buds, bodybuilded under me, had a gym above San Diego World's Gym called Combat. His name is Steve Nave. So he was having a hard time adjusting to life, and he actually married my ex-wife.
Oh,
and
okay.
so I trained him and my ex-wife.
Okay.
And people are like, that's crazy. I'm like, and this helped me out. I was helping him see why my wife was friends with me, and how so many people in my life are still around me. Well, he was trying to get adjusted. Well, he came across a book that was helping him adjust, which was called The Book of Flow, and it helped you get out of your way of happiness,
okay.
Or your way of success.
Okay.
And you see that in anything we do. And so I picked the book, read the book, and I push it to everybody.
Okay, awesome. I appreciate you sharing that. All right, so the third question that I have is there, and if there's more than one, please feel free to share, Watty, but do you have a favorite quote or mantra that has, impacted your life greatly?
Yeah, if it's to be, it's up to me.
Okay.
And I got that my freshman year at University of Oklahoma. I wrestled at, and this guy that I had neutral feelings about, our head coach, that was his mantra: is if it's to be, it's up to me. And in doing that, even if we're a part of a collective, if you do your job, then the whole collective does well. So it's up to each individual to do that part.
Beautiful. I love that quote. All right, and so the final question is a part of the warm-up. Do you have a favorite or most listened to podcast? And again, if there's more than one, please feel free to share.
I'm pretty sure Joe Rogan,
Yep.
but it's like also, I love Jordan Peterson, and I know everybody's going to hate me for that. Ben Shapiro, Young Turks. And it's not that do I align with anything that they feel. I just feel that they're people that are expansive thought processes and stuff. So I enjoy anybody's input and viewpoint.
Mm-hmm. Now, in regards to Jordan Peterson, because I've listened to him a little bit, I think on the Jocko podcast and maybe a few other places, and he's really come on the scene here within the last year or two, but he's been grinding and learning for years and years. Has there maybe been like one takeaway from Jordan Peterson that you wouldn't mind sharing with myself and the listeners?
It's just obviously one thing that he's doing, which is highly debatable, would be his list of happiness, how to be happy,
right?
And everything. I'm a non-denominational Christian, but I embrace and talk to everybody, and whether it be Buddha or anything, I think everybody is trying to be happy.
Right.
And so that's what the one thing I would. Now, he gets into other analytical things that have to do with psychological, because that's what he is, a psychologist and stuff, and have to do with the under meaning of men and women and all that. And I believe in some of the things he says. Now, I don't want to suppress or oppress any person in life, but I do think that we have come far along where we have less respect for one another, so therefore we ask a dichotomy of two different things, be treated one way but we want to act one way,
right?
And that's one thing he addressed. And do I agree with the way he addressed? I don't know. I don't want to. It's not up to me, but I do see where he's coming from.
Right. No, that's great.
Anything with happiness, I'm always like wanting to know, because it's hard. This is a short time, and it's hard to be happy.
Yeah, and life is hard. You know what I mean? And trying to figure out all those little things about life and why we're here, it can be really difficult. Mm-hmm. So that's great. I appreciate you sharing that. So Watty, that kind of wraps up the warm up in regards to kind of getting the ball rolling for the podcast. We're just going to kind of start unpacking your story. I mean, that's kind of just the impetus behind the podcast is just to provide a platform for my guests to share their story. So if you don't mind sharing with the listeners and again myself, Watty, kind of where did you grow up, and kind of what did those early years for you look like as a kid?
Well, I was in several orphanages growing up. I don't know where I was born, where my age. I don't know my name. It was all assigned. I had 3 different names, 3 different birth dates. They finally, in the 1985, I think I ended up with a birth date. I got naturalized, I think, from Carter in the 70s. But then I got adopted by a family in Arvada, and I was out of a Boulder orphanage, and grew up here. And that was the basic part of the start of me being here in the States. Mm-hmm. And then we lived in Montbello at the time, and Montbello was getting integrated with, several different types of people from all classes. Denver was growing, and I don't know if people know Denver, but Denver was a very sectional place where if you're Italian, Hispanic, you lived in certain neighborhoods. So I got in a lot of fights.
Right.
And so my parents were worried, and so they moved themselves clear across town.
Okay.
So I ended up in Arvada, and because I got in so many fights, they couldn't afford karate at the time, so they entered me in wrestling, the community wrestling.
Okay.
And so I started wrestling.
Okay. Now, if you don't mind me asking, what, as far as you know or whatever, what is like your heritage or background in regards to where's your family history from?
I don't know, and everybody wants me to do 23andMe and stuff, but I would say Vietnam, Hawaii, Philippines, Cambodia, something like that.
Yeah.
I'm not, just something that way, but Vietnam, I don't know if I'd be 100%. I don't know. I have no idea.
Yeah, and you just really don't really have a desire to kind of find out, or?
Health-wise, I would like to, probably. Right. Other than that, no. I mean, I know some people that we go to these reunions, 5-10-year orphanage reunions called Friends for All Children.
Okay.
And I know some of them have reached out and supposedly found their families. I don't see how that's possible.
Right.
I don't know if that's possible. So, but yeah.
Okay.
Could be.
Now, in regards to your upbringing stuff, because generally speaking, that's a pretty unique upbringing that you had compared to a lot of people. So, was there anything for you as a young boy and as a young man? Did when you found out you were adopted and kind of going through the process of being in an orphanage and things of that nature, was that something that caused some anger? Because you did mention you got in a lot of fights and stuff. Was that something that you had to work through as a young boy, or is that something you're still working through, or is it just kind of one of those things you were just like, this is what life gave me, and I'm just rolling with it? Absolutely.
No, I'm not that strong. I'm not that strong-minded. I went through a lot of turmoil. I feel like when anybody comes from a war-ridden time period and in a country adopts those people or helps those nations, there's hatred. And so obviously Vietnam was the 1960s and 70s war, conflict, and many people perished or got hurt. So I had a lot of things to get through when I came to the United States to go to school. No different than anybody, no probably harder, but just different. A little bit of racism, a little bit of stuff. But I also had loving friends, loving family. But they were tough to get along too, because they were coming from a time period where it was okay to say some stuff and you didn't even know until you got older what that was, like how it looked. And am I like, am I no, I don't. I'm from the country. My parents owned a ranch in Ray, Colorado, so I lived back and forth from Denver to Ray. I'm very, very American, nice. Yeah. So, but I had a lot to get through when I went to junior high or elementary, because that time frame. And so, that was a tough time to grow up in. If you watch our sitcoms, All in the Family and things of that nature from that time, you will see the openness of how we treated others and how we even treat women. I mean, the ad sitcom that they had, it's just the way they had women in the workforce and stuff like that. They treated women very differently. For sure, yeah. So, coming from those backgrounds, I think it was interesting for anybody going from the last 40 years. But I think it's interesting for these kids coming up, like we talk about millennials not being up to par, but they're going through way different things than we ever will have.
For sure. So. Well, just even with social media, you know what I mean? Yeah. Just all of that is just a whole nother ballgame that, I had my first cell phone like my junior year in high school, and it was, a flip phone. So I mean, it wasn't a smartphone or nothing like that. So with the technology and, these kids, each generation kind of has their their struggles, their battles, and the things that they have to work through, you know. So now in regards to like childhood and, you know, getting into junior high and high school, was sports or anything like that something that came on the horizon for you, and was that a type of outlet if you were involved in sports, or were you not involved in sports at all?
Yeah, I that was so when all those fights happened, I entered. My father and mother talked to some neighbors, and we were from an Italian community, so everybody wrestled for this little league called Arvada West Little League.
Okay.
And so I joined at age 4. I was too young, but I joined at age 4. I weighed 35 pounds, and I started wrestling. They went ahead and let me wrestle. I think 45 pounds was the lowest weight category when you enter tournaments. And I started at a young age at 4. They waived me onto the team, and started competing and utilized that competition was my outlet and of anger and anything, like my motivation. And I guess when you start, I think everybody starts that small, it becomes a part of you. And so any issue I ever had, I tried to work it through that sport and work it through my physical activity. So I think it helped me develop to who I am today.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, so now in regards to like because I'm trying to put everything together here, Watty. Like in regards to the orphanages and stuff, at what age did you say that you got adopted then?
I don't know. I would say I was a toddler. I would say young.
Okay, so a
baby,
young age.
Probably a
Okay.
baby.
Okay.
I think I'm pretty small. Probably. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah. No, that's fine. I was just trying to think if the sports kind of came on the scene with the orphanages, but it was when you were older then.
Yeah, they were probably 3 years apart when I started wrestling. I mean, obviously I was young because my parents had me in wrestling at 4.
Right.
So I was a baby before 2. So
Okay. Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, did the wrestling and stuff, did that kind of carry over into high school? Were there any other sports that you were involved in high school? And then after high school, did you go on and play sports, or were the sports kind of done once you finished up in high school?
Yeah, so I played all sports. I mean, elementary, I started football, flag football, then tackle football. Did all the sports that anybody would do because I loved I think athletics back then were something a lot of people wanted to get a part of. I don't know if it is the same today, but wearing a Letterman's jacket was like everybody's goal. So when I was in elementary school, I did all the sports. I got to junior high, I did basketball, track, because I had 8th grade sports back then. And then I did football, because they had football for junior high, and junior high is defined as 7th, 8th, and 9th. Middle school is 6th, 7th, and 8th.
Yeah.
So I did junior high football, track, basketball, wrestling, because wrestling and basketball weren't at the same time. I did rugby, and then I went to high school, and I did 3 sports, and then I got hurt. My first major injury in my life. I blew up my ACL, MCL, LCL, medial meniscus. So then got healed and just focused on wrestling all the time to try to get a scholarship. Mm-hmm. And went on, I got recruited by the University of Oklahoma and 5 other schools. Like if you're a blue chip, you get 5 visits. So I got 5 visits. Chose Arizona, Nebraska, Oklahoma. Chose Oklahoma because my coach had sent some people there. And I had prior friends that had signed there, and then one of our football players signed there. We wanted to go ahead and experience that freshman year together. So I signed to the Sooners and wrestled there for a year and got in trouble as any other freshman because I didn't know how to handle myself.
Right.
And I had to go to University of Wyoming. So I signed to another Division I wrestling school and finished my career there. Okay,
cool. So you wrestled then for your whole college career, then it sounds like, huh?
Yeah, Oklahoma and Wyoming.
Okay,
yep.
Awesome. Now, in regards to your time in college, I'm assuming I played college football, so I kind of understand the athlete mentality for a lot of us in college. It's your sport, and then everything else. So the studies aren't always the highest priority for a lot of us. So were your studies something that you took serious, or were you basically at college to wrestle and to enjoy life?
I'm gonna my own personal experience, and this is very specific for me, and does not weigh on anybody else because it's not true across the board. But I came into college at a very weird time when college athletics was huge. It was called the Big 8 back then. We switched the next year to Big 12.
Right.
Brian Bosworth, who was an NFL player, went to the school and released a book the year before I got to college, which devastated our lives. which was how we got paid, how we got special treatment. Was the book true, and is that true? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as a college athlete, I had food stamps, plus I had boosters. The food stamps were arranged for certain ways just because we couldn't have a college job. You sign a contract that you won't work anywhere. And then wrestling, we only have 9.9 scholarships, not like Division I football is 88 scholarships. So we had to come up with that. And so I came to Oklahoma in a bad period of time. Jack Spates was the new coach. I was recruited by Stan Abel. Jack Spates cleaned up Oklahoma and was looking to everybody walk a tight line. But before those years, it was really a heyday for great athletes. So athletics weren't. We were athlete students then because Oklahoma drew. We were top 25 in the country everywhere. We were revered. There was no pro sports there. Then I switched because I got myself in trouble. And the trouble was we got in fights. So that was what happened. And I finished my year there, knew I was in jeopardy. I got recruited, thank God, by Steven Suter, who passed recently. And he took faith, and I resigned and I recommitted myself to my sport. Wyoming was not as good as Oklahoma as in recruitment class, but we did make top 15 in the country. But Wyoming also was, every year was academic All-Americans. So I had to change myself. And luckily or unluckily, I'm smart because I'm Asian. And I shifted that gear of being a student athlete and got myself above a 3.5 for the years I was under Steven Suter. But at Oklahoma, I didn't even care. I mean, I'm not saying that every Oklahoma athlete was like that. It was just at the time I was hanging around with a certain kind of athlete who it was easy for, and so I just kind of copied him because I was a 17-year-old kid at Oklahoma, like this big school, and so I was a follower. I wasn't quite the leader yet. Went to Wyoming, became a leader, but I had friends around me that were better than me at school and better than me where their political and social placing was, and they taught me a lot. And then I think Wyoming was closer to me at home. I was only 2 hours from Denver, so then it gave me a little more stability.
Yeah, okay. Now, in regards to your studies, what did you study in college then?
Okay, so I studied communication like pretty much 80% of all people down in Oklahoma. Then I switched to marketing. Okay. And then after college, I graduated with marketing, BS in marketing, but then I ongoing studied, so I got my general contracting, ongoing study nutrition, ongoing study. So I've had so many. I'm old, so I've done a lot of things, and I went to ongoing studies.
Yeah, okay.
I'm actually thinking about going back again. So.
Okay, yeah. Awesome, beautiful. All right, so now I want to just maybe touch on another thing or two here in regards to kind of like post college and stuff, and then we're gonna just dive right into kind of the whole coaching and bodybuilding because that's you have an amazing resume for all of that and produce amazing athletes, and I really want to unpack that and spend a lot of time touching on that. So. But in regards to like lifting weights and the physical training, obviously you were an athlete when you were younger, and then college wrestling and stuff. There was that physicality, that physical culture, some sort of training and stuff like that. But in regards to kind of like weights and kind of the gym environment, where did all of that kind of come on the scene for you personally?
I started my very first show was in 1989. Okay. So as in like being old school and all that, I started in the 80s. I've been in the sport for 25 years. Powerlifting was my first powerlifting was 91. I won state championship. I won state championship bodybuilding. So that started early because Arvada West was huge. The gym I trained out of Armbrust, which wasn't Armbrust back in the day when I went. I started going there when I was 13, owned by Harry George. That's his actual name. Dylan and me that owns Armbrust went there too. Dylan was a state champion bodybuilder too. Arvada was a huge weightlifting culture, huge. And so we had won the state title. We'd won every powerlifting meet, and it was big. Our football team was all from the 70s coaches that all loved the lift, so everybody lifted. And so it was just something we did.
Okay, cool. So that was kind of like, was that like junior high age then or high school?
Junior high. Junior high was when I met the guy that trained me for my bodybuilding show, which was Monty Marino, who's a local. His dad won the 1967 Mr. Colorado. He competed and won 4 our teen Colorados. And then I got in that same thing. bodybuilding back then was AAU. For everybody that don't know, AAU was the dominant amateur sports, was deemed a monopoly by the U.S. government. 1983, the NPC had to be created along with Pop Warner football and all those to dismantle the AAU. So NPC had not pushed into Colorado as prominent. It was here, but it wasn't prominent. So me and Dylan did AAU shows. Then when NPC came and Jeff Taylor, who is the current chairman now, he came from AAU and then was the first chairman. Then I did NPC.
Okay.
And then I've done NPC since 1990.
Okay. So, kind of that first experience, if you remember and stuff, in regards to kind of like walk into a gym, lifting weights and all that, were you, as they say, kind of bitten by the iron bug right away? Or was it just kind of like, oh, this is kind of cool, and you kind of walked away and come back? What was that experience like for you in the
As in gym environment, it was different. My dad started me lifting at 5 because I wrestled. And he was kind of a basement gym dweller. So he'd lift and didn't know what he was doing, but he'd lift. So he'd make me lift.
Okay.
And was really pushed harder than I thought I should been. And then when I went to a gym, which was with this guy, Monty Marino, he took me into these old school gyms, Flex gym, and then what was it? Powerhouse gym back in there, Rudy's. Rudy's was the best, by the way. If anybody, it was a rec center.
Okay.
And it took me a World of Health, which is since closed, which is now World of Health is now like an arm thrust.
Okay.
And so I went in there, and the culture was crazy. It was really just kind of like a cliquey thing with no one ever did it. It was like a sideshow freak show. Bodybuilding wasn't prevalent like it is now. It was just a sideshow. And you'd see a bodybuilder you'd see a Bigfoot once in a while.
Right,
You heard about him, but you didn't see him that much. And so I did like it. I did but I was already an athlete, and I was already recognized as being one of the nation's top. At 13, I'd run a lot of junior Olympics and all that stuff. So I was very stable in that, but bodybuilding was different.
Right. Yeah.
And it carried this kind of swag to it.
Yeah.
And so, and back then you could be very famous. I mean, you could be famous through Instagram, but you could be very famous through bodybuilding back then.
Right. Yeah. Well, and like the back then it was like the magazines. You had Flex magazine, Muscular Development, Muscle and Fitness and stuff. And then obviously Arnold Schwarzenegger won his last Olympia on his comeback. Was that 1983? I think it was.
1980 he did.
Okay.
I believe his 80 was his comeback, and then he beat a bunch of people down in Australia.
Yeah.
He wasn't even supposed to do the show.
But some of his movies, mid to late 80s were coming out. The Rocky movies had been out, so there was a lot of just that kind of those kind of bodybuilder types, ripped guys, kind of on the big screen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm sure that was kind of feeding into to the bodybuilding scene at that time and stuff as well. So so the bodybuilding thing now in regards to like sports and when you were in college wrestling and stuff, was lifting still kind of part of the regimen, or was the physical training at that time for you in regards to kind of wrestling and sports more of just like the sprints and all of that kind of like more body weight type stuff?
So I mean, one reason I believe that I am a top coach is because I have been exposed to the best coaches in the world.
Right.
I was an Olympic hopeful, which was on the ladder and wrestling on those ladder tournaments, trying to be the number one spot. So I got exposed to some of the best guys, watching kinetics and watching your body movement. Went to the University of Oklahoma, which at the time was Joe Jurassic, who was amazing strength and conditioning coach for Oklahoma, coached under Barry Switzer and everybody. Went on the Dallas Cowboys and I think a few other pro teams. And then I went to Wyoming and coached under Jim Lathrop, who was on Georgia Tech's 1990 national team. It shared it with Colorado.
Wow.
So I've learned lifting from some of the best. Arguably. And I've lifted with some of the best in the world.
Right.
And got to be one-on-one with them and kind of absorb their knowledge.
Right, cool. So, all right, Watty, we're gonna just I want to start kind of unpacking kind of what did you start kind of the coaching in regards to like the bodybuilding coaching and the nutrition and all that type of stuff. Did that really come on the scene then post college? What did things look like for you post college then?
So it was actually pre and post college. I started nutrition then because I weighed about 180, 185 when I was in high school. and college, and I wrestled at 134.
Okay.
35 in high school, 40s. Then I went to college. I wrestled 34s and 42s and 41s and 33s.
Okay.
So then you're talking about a 50-pound gap, and I did it wrong. I was a bulimic. I battled bulimia all my life, and all that weight cut and self-image. But I also worked with nutritionists to try to help me, and unfortunately, I didn't really grasp it until after my late 20s. But I learned, and I put together diets to try to keep off season, so I wouldn't balloon up to 180. I'm a short guy, but for some reason, my body loves to be big. And then the cut, which were unhealthy back then, and they obviously put things to help these young men stay healthy and not pass away. We had 3 men pass away during my college career of dieting or cutting weight, and who knows why. But that helped me and started me on nutrition and dieting appropriately.
Okay. Perfect. So you just mentioned kind of your battle and struggle with bulimia and body image. Is that something that you see within kind of like the physique competition and bodybuilding and kind of the fitness scene? Is that something that you see quite a few people struggling with and dealing with? Not necessarily bulimia, but eating disorders, body dysmorphia, and things of that nature?
Absolutely. I think I'm going to touch on one thing to lead back to another thing.
Cool.
One thing is I love, and people hate, that young women and young men can be coaches after one show or not, and stuff, because they learn a little bit and then they find what works for them and they do it. And right now we do celebrate a lot of people that are Instagram stars who have a higher body fat, maybe young, don't have all the knowledge, but they connect with people. And so we are embracing people that don't have to be stage ready.
Right.
And because that doesn't mean nothing. I mean, it does mean a lot, but it doesn't mean that you're better than anybody or nothing. It just means for that kind of industry, you're ready. Mm-hmm. But so why I like that is because my wife's doing a show right now. Has to be really, really super lean. And I don't think it's healthy, and I'm her coach.
Right.
And so I worry. The sport itself is great. Okay, I'm an advocate of people competing and being healthy. And is being on stage healthy? No, not for everybody. But if you're obviously a balanced ectomorphic guy like my old roommate, he could eat Jack in the Box, do no cardio, and be on stage.
Right.
But some people have to do 2 hours of cardio. Some people have to do 3 hours of cardio. Some have to be in a caloric deficit and 500 calories a day. It's whatever it takes to be on there. We have many coaches in the world say, "Oh, that's this guy hurt you, a metabolic damage and all that." But that's bullshit. It's just what it takes. It's what it is. Can you recover? Yeah, because we have to understand an African tribe has many different people that are all starving sometimes, and they have fat guys, muscular guys, and that. It's the different body types that do.
Right,
We can get into really serious pancreas release, insulin release, and all that. But what I'm saying is, bodybuilding is good, but it can create a lot of body dysmorphia, even for bodybuilders. I'm too small. I'm never going to be big enough. I need to keep growing. I need to do more anabolics or more supplements or whatever to get to be successful. But then why do it? Well, because it's an avenue for everybody to do. Everybody should have their own avenue to do their own thing, as long as they are not harming others. And is there harm to themselves? That's their own evaluation. They have to deal with themselves.
Right. Now, if somebody is struggling, let's say, with an eating disorder or some sort of body image issues, and you're aware of it, you know about it in regards to maybe a client of yours or some clients, how do you approach that, and how do you discuss that with somebody? Because being a coach, like, it's more than just making a diet, making a training regimen, saying, "Here you go, have at it." You're basically, I'm assuming, some sort of like counselor at times. You're a father figure, an uncle figure, a dad figure to some people. You're in people's lives, like, you're in deep. So how do you address that and kind of work through that with some of the people that you have?
As everybody knows, and I've gotten better since I've been married, I'm a mean coach because I come from an old school generation, but I've learned how to communicate better. Not all the time, just better. Some people might laugh when they hear that, but so I have a hard time with it. With guys, I'm just very forefront in your face. I had a few bulimics on my team. There's more men bulimics than you think out there, more body dysmorphia with men than you think out there. With women, they're usually more open a little bit about it, but it's hard to approach people about it because they can go into their shell and not admit it. And they got to work through those processes. Now, can I tell if someone is? Yeah. Good or bad, do I tend to get involved? Not all the time. I have an athlete that I coach who is a doctor or have masters in it, and her name's Sandy Forsett. She coaches down in Colorado Springs. She deals with a lot of food issues, and she has the psychological approach to how to bring that out. But sometimes, even if you see someone going into a wreck, you can kind of give them warnings, but they're still going to do what they're going to do. It does suck, though. Everybody out there, I no matter who you are, I watch your Instagram posts sometimes. And I know that it's an illusion. And I know that they're like, oh yeah, I'm eating this pizza and look at this and then flexible dieting. And I also know that they're going home and puking. And it sucks that there's so many people out there just because they want to be popular, just when they want to pitch a message, that they portray an image and then behind closed doors they're doing something else.
Right. So how have you personally then, Watty, worked kind of through your bulimia and your eating disorder and some of those issues that you've had?
I don't, man.
Okay.
I don't. I struggle every day. I try to tell people about it so they can watch me. I try to stay clean and don't overindulge, but people who's been out to eat with me, sometimes I have to watch myself. It's just it's a constant battle. It's in your brain.
Absolutely.
And are there things that you can eat that help like you crave salty, or if you crave sugar, and there's stuff that mimic that, your endorphins and all that, your food and enzymes that you really, yes, but it still comes down to your brain. It's how you view yourself. And I could drink too much water and feel shitty about myself.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm not impervious to magazines and good looking people and clothes styles and stuff. So those things affect me, and I watch it affect my athletes as well.
Yeah. Well, and I just appreciate you sharing this stuff because I've struggled with body image stuff, from a very young age and different eating stuff. And it's just like the kind of the whole mantra in our culture and world is image is everything. You know what I mean? And I know there's so many people, whether they admit it or not, struggle with body image. They struggle with eating. They struggle with, over exercising and all that. I mean, I would say it's an epidemic in our country, in our culture, and if not in our world. And the further you get into competing and competition, it can get crazier and more stressful and darker. So I just appreciate you being open and sharing some of that personal stuff, Watty, because people need to hear that, hey, you're a very successful coach. You have trained with some amazing people and trained amazing people, and yet you're just a normal guy like any of us, and you have struggles just like the rest of us. So. Thank you for sharing that. Now, let's just get into kind of like the coaching stuff. So, I mean, kind of a part of the introduction, you're the founder and owner of Tried and True. You've coached 70 plus IFBB Pro Athletes and 16 Olympians. You work with NFL players, Olympic athletes, pro MMA fighters. You also listed off a few other professional type athletes that you work with. So, Where did kind of the whole coaching thing for you personally take off? Like, I know you were under great coaches in college and things of that nature, but kind of when did you kind of have your first client in regards to, let's just talk about like bodybuilding, and then how did the ball really start rolling for you in regards to that?
Two things. Things are timing. I tell a lot of people, never model your business off of money. I'm not a big guy that likes to be in the spotlight. Everybody knows that. I tend to shy away from some of that stuff, which killed me as in marketing. I tend not to like to talk about things because I come from a time when you would win a state title or a national championship, and you would never say nothing like that because your dad would smack you in your head and be like, what are you bragging for? Mm-hmm. But this is a day and age where you had to tell what you had to do. So what happened was, for me, was I was a mediocre bodybuilder, great fighter, mediocre wrestler. I mean, mediocre means I was still at Olympic level, but there was guys that beat my butt. There's got fighters that beat my butt, bodybuilders that beat my butt. But I still was at a high level of competition. So that helped me gain my knowledge. Then I became coach. I coached everybody all the way through, and I dated many girls that were better than me or genetically who got through the ranks better. So I dated a girl who was third, and I helped train her and coach her. Her name was Heather Mae French. We hired George Farr to help out Kick-Ass start that. Then I helped out, and she took to third place at the Olympia. That didn't really put me on the map because I wasn't all the way her coach, but I helped out. But then I had the next one was Kamala Rodriguez, who was a fitness pro and a figure pro, who was the girl I actually coached with Heather. And then I helped Heather Grace. And there was this time back in I guess it would be 2005 to about 2010 where I had a few pros. Now, I wasn't a big guy. I was in magazines a few times, but I had mostly women, very few bodybuilders, just all local. And then I had some great wrestlers and stuff like that. And I was a fighter, still active fighter. And then time happened. Instagram happened. And Instagram helped us get bigger faster. But I still hated it. I was that guy that resisted. I wouldn't create one, wouldn't do nothing. And I had, fortunately, Men's Physique and Bikini was coming out. I had Abby Burrows, who was an Olympian, and I had Christina Vargas, an Olympian, Sandy Force, an Olympian, and all these people. Then I had Kamala was Olympian, Daryl G, a bodybuilder Olympian, and who I helped out, collaborated with, and Heather Mae. So I had a lot of Olympians, but no one knew. People kind of knew, but the industry people knew. Had some great fighters and trained with great people. But then I got this Men's Physique thing came out.
Right.
And I had this guy named Alex Carnero and Steve Cook that I trained.
Yeah.
And they were not as big as they are, but they got big. And they kept going, do this Instagram. I'm like, dude, that is so stupid. That is so dumb. I was actually transversed and started dating this girl that ended up becoming a pro, and Lauren Lesnow with one of the second Miss Physique, or Women's Physique pros, who was she after DLB, Dana Lynn Bailey.
Yeah.
And so I had her, I was dating her, and she's like, I want to get 500 likes on a picture. I'm like, that is the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. And finally, this girl, Christina Vargas, created my Facebook or my Instagram and all that. And she had like a lot of followers. And told me to do this. And so she said, hey, you got to post. So I posted 5 pictures, a starfish, some waves, a pier and stuff. And she started yelling at me. And she's like, dude, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm posting the scenery I'm seeing. And she's like, you got to post about yourself. You got to post about your. I'm like, that is dumb. Why would you post about yourself? And why would you post about that? That makes no sense.
Right.
And so that helped. This is 2011 and 12 and 10 and all that. And competition actually breed me to be better. This guy, Adam Bonilla, who we hated each other at the time, and a lot of people hate him and dislike him, and a lot of people love him, and he actually was a great marketer, knew how to market, knew how to put himself out there, and everybody started talking about him instead of me. And I was kind of prideful and like, what do you mean he's the best? And he's rivaling me, and this Shane Hoogley and all these people. Now, there was other coaches that were big, like my mentor as in business-wise is Kim Odo, who's huge, which I don't mind people saying, yeah, he's great. He has so many Olympians. But it was hard for me to be an old school guy saying that these new birds kids were as good as me.
Yeah.
So I started the Instagram thing too, and I started winning. And so what really got me on the map again is I got 22 pros right in the first 2 years. And then I got that Steve Cook, and people kind of heard about that. But I started getting like more Olympians and being more vocal, and that helped my business grow.
Okay.
I still don't market. I don't even have a business card, which is dumb, I would say, if you're with sitting with good business people, but it's just not me. So I don't know if I'll ever go that way.
Right. And I think that's something that's a powerful takeaway for myself and the listeners, Watty, is just being genuine to who you are. And I think that will go a lot further for you and your success and your business and your athletes' success if you just stick to kind of your guns and you are who you are than trying to be somebody that you're not. Because after a while, man, we've all tried to be somebody or something, and after a while, that just gets tiring and old, doesn't it?
Yep.
So, just sticking kind of to yourself and saying, hey, you know what? I am who I am. Like it, great. If you don't like it, you don't have to buy it, kind of thing. And I think that's really powerful.
And to go back, the guy Adam Bonilla now, several years later, we became good associates,
cool.
Almost business partners. He was going to buy it, tried and true from me. He's actually now an industry standard and leader because he's a great marketer and he's a decent coach and knows how to he's put people on the Olympia stage. And so that goes and shows you also sometimes that someone that sparks your pissed offness and that you hate inside because you're kind of mad about it. If you get off your butt and do something about it, then you can become good peers and relationship, and actually elevated me. And everybody I have an ill will for, which it always starts out because I'm mad about myself not doing it, ends up being my motivation, and they usually become my friends. So. Beautiful.
That's awesome. So, all right, now in regards to just kind of like the difference between, let's say, like a male athlete and again, let's just kind of keep in the bodybuilding realm, but what's kind of like maybe a couple differences, in regards to coaching a female athlete compared to a male athlete. And obviously they're male, female, two different types, but you know what I mean, like training wise, nutrition wise, kind of emotionally and stuff like that. Do you find it a little bit simpler or easier to work with females over guys, or vice versa, or the same, or what's your perspective on that?
Okay, I want everybody to listen to this before I get into that. No matter men or women, we are only as good as our athletes. So an awesome athlete makes us look awesome as coaches. So no matter what I'm about ready to say, it's the athlete that makes us, not us. We can give you guidelines, you guys follow the guidelines, but if you're genetically superior, you're going to probably do better than everybody. So don't ever think that it's us. When it is, it's the rapport with the coach and all that, but it's you. It's you as the athlete that makes us so great. Going into that, but women and men are definitely different, but sometimes the same. And why I say that is because you'll go through the same self-doubts and the same things, and some people can follow instruction. But I recently got told by a jiu-jitsu coach how to coach better. And I don't know why this actually helped me, but it did. I'm a coach that gets really super pissed off if you don't execute right and stuff. And I could really bring you down way before I bring you up, because I just chew your ass. But this guy told me something which I know, but he's like, well, what you're not doing, and what you probably have is what he does is he trains jiu-jitsu. He's Gracie flew up here, gave him a black belt in Gracie jiu-jitsu, so he's really high up. And he's like, you need to learn how your student is learning. Is he audio, visual, and something that we all know, but we don't think of. Right. So I'm sitting here writing plans on a computer, seeing this person's like, well, I should have known that doesn't always go good with everybody. Somebody can't just always read directions and put together Kia's furniture.
Absolutely.
Sometimes you got to watch a video. Sometimes you got to be told audio. So that's actually in 2019, after 20 years, has opened up my coaching abilities, and now I'm kind of trying to dig in and be softer and listen. Well, how do you learn and let people kind of give me more feedback on it.
Right.
So is women or men easier? It's actually, we just got to decide how they need to learn. As in the women, sometimes women, when they work with men, are easier because they will just follow, and sometimes women working with women are easier because they bond better. Sometimes men with a man are bad because we sit there and see who can piss farther and who has more knowledge. Sometimes men with men are better because you look up to them as their guidance and stuff like that, and mentor. And sometimes men with women are better because you have that bond. So you have to. I was talking to one of my athletes. He took fifth at the Arnold last year. He's one of the best classic physique guys. But he's under me. He's coaching, and it's not. And he said this, and we were on the phone. And he's like, "Watty, it's not like anybody couldn't be my coach. Anybody in the world could make me top 5 in the world." Very true. Very big blow to my ego, but very true. The thing was, he's like, I get along with you, and I like the way our rapport is, and so. Yes, when we diet, we sit there and collab. I send him everything and workouts and cardio, but he looks over and says, what is about this? This works better for me, because he's obviously smart and knows his body. And so we collab together really well.
Beautiful.
So that's a great for him. But he had a better coach than me. I thought just as good as coach or better was Scooby. And he left Scooby, and Scooby had coached him and got him the best condition of his life, one of the best. And he left Scooby because they didn't talk. And it was very peripheral and very, just emails and text. And, and sometimes that's people need more. So the question, I guess, if I didn't answer, it's the rapport of each person. And some people will say, Watty sucks as a coach. Watty sucks as an individual, probably. been someone who will tout me as the most second coming of whatever. And it just because maybe it was because I had a good day and when I first talked to him, or maybe it was because we just went through so much and I guide him and I wasn't, because you're like a psychologist. People go through breakups in this sport, which is horrible. People go through job loss. People go through self-doubt. So sometimes you handle it well as a coach and sometimes you don't. And I talk to my peers and sometimes we're like, God, this guy's complaining about this, bitching about this. This girl's telling me this, da-da-da. And we joke and laugh because we've heard it all.
Right.
And then, but each person's going to get how we're feeling that day. So if I got in a fight with my wife or over something, I might take it out on you, and that sucks, but that's human. But if I'm smart, I take my personal thing out of it and I give you the right answer. Does that help you with that discussion?
No, that was very thorough, and as a school teacher, kind of, that learning myself, that individualization of, your students and how your students learn and work best that's powerful. So it's cool coming from my perspective, as I've worked with elementary kids all the way up to high school kids, but even as kids turn into adults, it's basically, as a coach, as a mentor, as a teacher, it's the same thing. You have to know kind of who is in front of you and what works best for them. So that was great. Very, very thoroughly answered. So I really appreciate that. Now, Watty, in regards to bodybuilding, what do you think is, and you can maybe speak for yourself personally if you want to, and then maybe, just as you would see, just being in the bodybuilding world for so many years, but what do you think is one or two of kind of the greatest things that bodybuilding provides an individual?
Each person's going to get that different. So everybody's going to embark on that journey. I say journey a lot because it is a journey in life, and when you do bodybuilding, everybody's going to get something different. For me, if you can get anything from it, and most people do, would be learning how to manage your time and learning how to overcome obstacles and stay in your time. And what I mean by that is things are going to happen during the day. And so you need to eat 6 meals, 3 hours. Well, some people are hospital doctors, are in surgery for 6 hours. I have a firefighter, Saraka Sharbaz, Olympian, and he's a firefighter. And so we are 2 days before the Olympia, and he's his last shift, and he gets called on a 6-hour fire. And I don't know if you know Chicago, but I'm sure the fire's a little bigger than what we're used to. So 6-hour fire, I'm like, geez, man, he couldn't eat, he couldn't come off. They rotated. And then when he did eat, he had to eat a donut, or he had to eat whatever they had. And so life's going to throw things at you, and you're going to have to adapt and figure the best way to get through that day.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's about it. Okay,
cool. So now in regards to kind of behind the curtain, behind the scenes of bodybuilding, and again, for the listeners, if you listen to my episode with Danny, a few weeks back, we talked about kind of the dark side of bodybuilding, and I talked to her about it before we turned on the podcast. I also did the same with Watty, just asking if he was cool talking about maybe some of the politics and the drug use in bodybuilding. He said he was open to talk about that. So Watty, would you just maybe share a little bit about kind of, and maybe you would use a different word, but I'm going to use kind of the dark side of bodybuilding. That's how I'm going to word it. But would you share a little bit about the dark side of bodybuilding? We already kind of touched on the eating disorders, body dysmorphia, but there is drug use within bodybuilding. There's drug abuse, and you also mentioned before we turn on the podcast, there's some politics. So kind of however you want to take all that, would you maybe just share a little bit so people can kind of have an understanding of what that looks like a little bit?
And this is what I mean by politics is it's in topic that's in the sport. Do I agree that or disagree? We'll get into that. But let's say instead of saying dark side, it's the culture.
Okay, beautiful. Yeah.
It's the culture, and everything has culture. Dark side inside. Dark side could be the positive side. Dark side can end up being whatever it is. We can turn that. Okay, so the dark side of the sport could be everybody's going to Instagram. Everybody's following a one coach shop thing. They've done one show now. They're a coach, that's a great thing, but we call it a dark thing. Why? Because it's a young 20-year-old, 23-year-old who might only know the one thing that they've done, and now they're trying to put that on or replicate that to many people. Mm-hmm. That's a dark side of the sport, but it's also a positive side. So it's a culture. It's a culture going on. Okay. Yep. Second thing is drugs are everywhere, people. Drugs have been around since the beginning of time. Performance-enhancing drugs is everything. Creatine, monohydrate, micronized, whey protein. Why is that? Well, to some people, that is enhancing your ability to perform or recuperate, protein synthesis and all that. So they all are enhancers. But anabolic abuse, cutters, estrogen prohibitors and stuff like that is a culture in our sport that people choose to use and coaches choose to utilize. None of us usually are doctors, medical directors, or nutritionists. A lot of us aren't holding degrees or anything of that standard. So we cannot do recommendations. We just write things up and people either follow or not follow. That being said, steroids are used rampantly on women and men in our sport. I have some athletes, what people like to argue with me, that are unnaturals. Some that have attained the got to Olympia stage. Ernest Flowers, all the way to the Olympia stage, drug-free. But it was years ago, like 3 years ago. The times have changed. I don't know if it could happen now. Women, there's some women who have gone to the Olympia stage natural a few years ago. I don't know about now. The ones I have, I don't know. They could be on stuff. Some might be, some might not be. But that being said, it's fair game because a judge is sitting there and they don't care if you lost 100 pounds. They don't care if you did 2 hours of cardio. They don't care anything. All they know is what's in front of them. So if you used every anabolic under the book, they don't care. That's not what they're there to judge. So people are like, they're cheating or not cheating. No, there's no thing of that. Now, there are rules, and people don't know that you can be tested at some of the pro shows and actually be like the Arnold had tested Sean Ray and Jay Cutler, and they got their titles taken, but then Jay actually sued the IFBB, got it back, so that's why you don't see that as much. But it's rampant because people want to get there fast, and people know that they have to. I hate to say have to because there's going to be someone that breaks that rule, but more likely than not, to look like some of these guys or girls, you're going to have to use something. In your time. Now, a lot of people nowadays, I notice they say, oh, I'm natty, I'm this, but I only do this, this, and this. That's not natty. If you do anything, it's not natty, okay? It's not natty. Natty means you utilize food and maybe minerals and stuff. And I consider natural people using natural supplements as creatine, BCAAs, and all that. Some people think that's even cheating. So that's natural. The epidemic's large is because it's our culture. We want to be there. It's just like everybody wants to be rich. Everybody wants to be... And the quickest way to do that with us is we have a solution. Give yourself some anabolics or different steroids. Now, steroids is everything. Steroids is birth control. Steroids is everything. I had cops and there's all these relive clinics and hormone balance clinics. People have to realize what steroids and anabolics are. And that's easy. Go find out what they are. I don't want to get too far on that, but I had a cop to me going, I don't like these guys in this gym because they cheat. And I'm like, what do you mean? You're on TRT. Well, I'm only on testosterone cypionate. That's an anabolic. No, it's not. No, they just sold you on something that didn't say that. Guys, that's anabolic. Girls will be like, well, I don't do it. I actually heard this yesterday. Well, this person doesn't do this and this is. I'm like, but she does this, 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 and this, which is thousands of times greater than anybody else. So that is a lot, people. I mean, it's a lot. Is it a lot compared to others? No. But it's funny how we'll gauge or we will reevaluate what we think is a lot or little or whatever. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I'm answering this question.
Yeah, no, you're good. I just want to, because I have a wide variety and array of listeners, and I just want people to understand that, the anabolics and the drug use is a part, if you choose to have that, a part of the bodybuilding culture. You know what I mean? There's organizations, like I compete in an organization where you go through a lie detector. If you're in like the top 3, you have a urine test. They take all that very seriously. But then there's organizations, like NPC and things of that nature, where it's it's everybody's choice.
Let's be clear. I just finished the Muscle Mania and Muscle Mania the Universe. Lester won as one of my athletes. Tiffany He, who just won both figure and bikini world titles. So congrats. They're natural athletes. Lester, I'll testify for. Tiffany too. She's been around. She's 50 years old, and but there's cheaters in those leagues too.
Right.
And people are like, oh, but I'm going to go to Muscle Mania. Well, you can take an anabolic; it gets in and out of your system. They're half-lives.
Sure.
And so like you can go everywhere. And I train some of the best CrossFitters in the world. They tell me how rapid it is in CrossFit. Fighters, there's guys that use it in fighting. So there's not things that we don't. In the Olympics, there's guys that bend the rules and stuff. So it's everywhere. But can you do it naturally? Yes. But I think what your listeners and what people should do is, what do I want to do? Absolutely. Don't worry about who's doing right and left. And don't be doing this for placing you go after the championship, but just do to be better than you yesterday. Absolutely. And then if you do anabolics, it won't matter to you. Did you did you walk away with first and you're like, that guy did stories? We spend so much time worrying about what everybody else does. Just worry about what you do. And if the guy did anabolics, that's his choice.
For sure.
So that's what the listeners should focus on, is worry about your lane, and when you want to cross your lines at this lane or that lane, or you never will.
Right.
And then scream it from the top of your lungs of what you're about, and then stick to it. Now, everybody on Instagram likes to say they're about something, and I'm going to say they're liars. And not everybody's lying, but there's a lot of them lying. They're lying with the filter, they're lying with the angle, they're lying with the food, they're lying with how hard they work, they're lying with the drug, they're lying. There's all kinds of lies behind that. But then there's a girl who all of a sudden posts something that's real, and we like that. But yes, we'll like it. But then here's the thing. I coach posing class, and a girl was having a hard time being sexy and confident. But this is what we do: is we like it. We're like, oh my God, did you see Kathy's post? She's posted a picture in her sports bra and booty shorts, and her belly was hanging out. And what a triumph that is for women, and how embracing. And the same minute, you guys went to the gym, told the other girl, look at freaking Kathy, look at her fat butt, oh my God. And we know this, we talk crap. So then therefore it's hard. So we put the pressure on each other to do the steroids, not do steroids. So just worry about your lane, be confident, and be true, how you feel. And that's it.
Yeah, thank you. You can keep preaching if you want, Watty.
Yeah.
That's great.
And then I got to tell you, like, every topic that I say and talk about, and one of my good friends, Russ Allen, great coach, great athlete, top coach, top athlete. People hate him, love him, had bad things about it. Me and him will get together and we balance each other out, because one day I'll be like pissed off about, like, can you believe this guy? And I get mad, I get hatred in my heart and stuff. I can't believe this. And then he'll balance me, why are you being that way? Da, da, da. So just remember, just depending on the day, I'll flip flop a thing. Like, one day I'll be motivating about a coach that doesn't know shit coaching people. The next day I'm like, why the hell is this coach why are you coaching? You're going to hurt. So I feel both sides of the argument always. Right. I think we all do. Mm-hmm. And we have to be very careful in how we express that, because it's going to be taken like a ripple in life.
Yes, beautiful. So, Watty, we've been already, which it's crazy. Time always flies when you're having fun. We've already been going over an hour, so I want to be respectful of your time and your Sunday afternoon. I do want to touch on a few more things here, and then we'll kind of wrap things up. Is that
let's
cool
do let me do the political thing real quick.
Oh yeah,
the political thing is people sit there and say I'm political and everybody's political. Yes, it can get creep in the sport. There's, especially when you get to the pro levels, I think that they just know you. I don't think it's here's what political means. What people forget to do psychologically. If me and Quentin are on a judging panel, and he's based out, I think, Colorado Springs, I'm based out of Denver, and he recognizes 3 people from the stage, and he's friends with the coach, and I recognize 3 people on the stage, our eyes might be drawn to them, but we're still going to judge the way we're going to judge. Now, here's what you don't understand. When you're in a subjective sport, I might have been dating one of this girl that has brunette hair and looks like this Spanish girl, and she broke my heart. So I go judge that month. Every girl is going to get bad. I'm going to judge every girl unless I know how to keep that on my psyche. Right. Going to do bad. So is that political? I don't know. It's preference. And can a judge get swayed? I'm sure. But don't focus, like you say, focus on your lane. Absolutely. Oh, I'm not going to do this, and they went this, and Watty Watt and Adam Bodine and Gress, they don't have ends, bro. You come and nail it. Sometimes someone can win. Or you can, and coaches like to brag and say, oh, we know the sport and get with one of us. You can get with anybody and be successful. You can coach yourself and be successful. A lot has to do with your genetics. A lot has to do with the day of the judge and stuff like that. So as a political, is it there? Yes, it can be illusionally there, and it can be there, but it also isn't there. Is that a weird thing? Yeah, because why don't you guys get on the judging panel and you'll see how someone tries to bribe you and it pisses you off, or like bribe you as in like, hey, my girl's doing this show, or guy, and it makes you mad, so you actually judge them harder, or you see your best friend up there and you're actually a bigger dick to them because you're like, oh, he should have been better. So that could count against you knowing that judge. Okay,
right,
so
right.
That's that.
Cool. No, cool. Thank you for bringing that back up and touching on that. So, in regards to like your faith, how has your faith been an anchor for you and played a role in your life and some of the things that you've had to deal with and overcome and struggle through?
Well, as I use the word dick and all these other things, my faith, I love the Lord, okay? And the Lord can be, for me, is the traditional thing. And I have people that are believe in nothing and atheists and stuff, and I love them too. Mm-hmm. So whatever you embrace. I try to follow the word, and I fall down every time. I use curse words because I get so adamant and don't have an adjective to put in there. Right. But my faith helps me. And actually, I just got in a fight with someone yesterday. He was an athlete. I told them off, stormed out, and then I was sitting at 3 a.m, and some thing came on the TV. It had to do with faith. So I had to text this person at 3 a.m. saying, so I did not handle that more kindly and didn't handle it. And then they texted back. Now they could have went on and like held me to that and put me on the cross about it. Right. But luckily they didn't. I'm just human. But it did spike a response of me being kinder to that person. Mm-hmm. But in the heat of the moment, sometimes I don't come off always the right. But if you catch me a good day and I'm being tired, yeah, I'll come off like very surfy and all knowledgeable. Right, catch me in the heat of the moment where I'm pissed. I come off like a hot head and have no brain in my body.
Right, yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, life's up and down for all of us, you know what I mean? And that's human nature. But I think it's just important for all of us to have an anchor in our lives, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And to be able to hold on to that. And
utilize whatever works for you, though. Mm-hmm. That's like I said with mine. God and me's relationships, me and him, mm-hmm. It doesn't have to do with anybody else. Right. And if you believe in something else, utilize that. If that's what gets you through, it's between you and you.
For sure. For sure. Yeah. All right. Watty, has there been maybe one or two mentors in your life that you would like to maybe just talk about for a few minutes and give them credit for, just really pouring into your life and being those positive influences for you as you've grown and matured as a man?
Yeah, I mean, there's always, even you young people out there, sometimes you guys will inspire me and teach me something that I didn't think I was thinking of, or just revitalize something in my thoughts or ways of coaching. Mentor, like I had mentioned, Kimoto, I'd never learned one nutritional thing from him, but what he did was he showed me how to be kind, even in competition, and helps everybody, and carries himself very well in the sport and has thousands of clients and never not helped anybody. He's never soliciting clients. He's just very pure, and it helped me learn that. Matt Johnson and Suter and Stafford and Reese Andy and all these wrestling guys, and they taught me how to just mentally, just break people. Steve Nave, the SEAL way, people go to 40% and they quit. It gets uncomfortable. Most people quit in their relationship, quit in their job, quit in their life. They'll get to 40%, they can't go in, but you can go further. So all these men taught me how I can go further. And then I got to remind myself. And then young folks that come on, Axel Wessel and 20-some years old, and Zach Martinez going through cancer and brain tumor, they teach me how to be open-minded. Both are atheists or not finding their way, and but they're going through hard times, or they're leaders. And Axel isn't, but Axel is still trying to find his way. So it keeps me on being open-minded. And then like people I hate to like, and Adam Bonilla's and stuff. He's my friend, but my rival. Russ is one of my best friends, my rival. Hughley's not just a companion, but my rival. Omar Ventura. They help me just learn just to stay in my lane and worry about me and because I think they're doing the same, or they're not, but they're doing good at them. Right. And so those guys actually mentor me from afar and never know.
Cool. All right, so just one more thing here in regards to Armbrust Pro Gym, because I know before I moved up to Colorado, I'd heard of that gym because of Phil Heath and things of that nature. And now that I moved out here, I follow the Russ Allens and a lot of these guys that are in Colorado, and they train out of that gym on a regular basis, or they come and visit. It's got a great reputation. Just if you don't mind sharing a little bit, and you've been there for a long time, what does that culture and that gym mean to you, and just kind of like, kind of how proud you are to be a part of that community?
Well, some people might laugh because they know how I feel, and so I'm going to be. Armbrust is a staple in the community. It can be a savior to you. It could be your worst nightmare, and it's not Armbrust; it's us. So as I'm saying that it's one of those hardcore gyms that motivates you, because there's all kinds of guys always focused, and girls always focused, and trainers always focused on doing better. But it can be evil too, and you all know that. It can be ugly because it's very incestuous, and it can be non-motivating because people kind of hate on each other when new people come in, or old people. So, but that's us. So that can be any gym. But Armbrust will be here to stay. Dylan himself tries to provide a hardcore environment with a good environment, with good equipment and clean. He's one that will spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on the gym, and it's not a big box gym. Big box gyms are great, but it is a boutique kind of gym. It's not for everybody. It's for some. But give it a try. It might be you. I want Dylan to know I love the gym because I make a great living. He provides a good environment. But I want others to know that you hear those bad rumors. That's those people. They had a bad experience. Go find out for yourself, and never try out something once or twice. Try something 3 times. Go back 3 times. Figure it out. Maybe you get a good one. You meet one good person. There's this really short guy that comes in there, and I'm one that try to talk and say hi to everybody just because I know how it can be and stuff. So I went and said hi to him, and he's like, "Dude, you're the first person that spoke to me in a month." So that he might have left there thinking, "God, everybody's just arrogant." But luckily now he's part of the culture. Everybody says hi to him. So you got to give things time. Absolutely. And then some things can be a bad taste in your mouth, and maybe take a break and then come back. So
yeah, cool. All right. So the last question that I have for you, Watty, is what advice would you like to share with the listeners out there if they are thinking about getting into bodybuilding or some sort of competition in regards to physique, or they're wanting to get into coaching? What advice or information would you like to leave them with?
With the internet, there's so much information out there, but you got to be careful because obviously you can look up stuff and it's not right. But you can get a lot of basic information or even advanced information. You can do a show without anybody as long as you do your due diligence. Try to get lean. Every diet, there's 1,000 ways to skin a cat. You got to find your way. And if you're going to be a coach, get out there. I'm helping others coach across the country. Get out there. Sometimes you got to give back. Taco Bell gave out $25 million of free product and got $1 billion back in generated revenue. So sometimes you can put yourself out there and just help a friend for free, and then that's your walking, or just compete yourself, or you become your own walking billboard. So there's 1,000.
Cool. All right, Watty, if somebody wants to reach out to you and kind of follow your journey and some of your athletes' journey, where can people find you, reach out to you, get a hold of you, things of that nature?
I mean, just online. You'll run into me. I got a website and stuff, and you can find that if you look hard enough. My name is Watty Watt on Instagram and stuff like that. But, if you look hard enough, you'll find me. If you don't, you won't.
Perfect.
That's it.
Perfect. All right. So, Watty, thank you for your time today. I really appreciate you hanging out with myself and the 127 Fit podcast listeners, thank you for your time today. If you would like to reach out to me, you can find me on Instagram. It's at 127 Fitness. Facebook is at Quentin Vars. If you are listening to the podcast and finding value, please, if you're listening to the podcast on the Apple iTunes podcast app, just please leave a 5-star review, comment. That would be great. If you think you would be a great guest, or you have somebody in Colorado that you think would be a great guest or guest, just send me an email. Share a little bit of information with me about yourself or your friend, what have you. And that email is 127fit@gmail.com. Again, if you're finding great value in the podcast and the guests that I'm bringing on, please share that episode or those episodes on your Facebook and Instagram stories, and just use the hashtag #BeSomeoneToFollow. And then, per the usual, I will leave you with Proverbs 24:10, which states, "If you faint in the day of adversity, your strength is small." This time, until next time, I will catch you guys later.